There's always this like awkward 5 seconds, like, oh, is the stream going yet? Or let's see.
Well, the mock's filling up at least.
Yeah. Let's just double check. Is the mock going? Hey guys, can you hear me? I think the mock's going.
We're
live.
We are live.
We are live because there's an ad that just popped up on my phone. There we go. How's everyone doing today? 11. Oh, interesting. Comments is not coming on my computer right now. So, what's up, Ben? Hey, Nick. Hey, Josh. Okay, so joining me today is Dan. Is it Toomey?
Toomey, yeah.
Okay.
Spot on.
Now, since I had to ask you, you have to guess what my how to pronounce my last name.
Let me look at it for real fast.
This is kind of a mean thing for me.
All right. Bartowski?
Close. Bartowski.
Bartowski.
But that's very good. Very good.
Okay,
close. So we're all filled up here. Oh, just a second. It looks like the draft board currently is only showing up to the 9th spot. So I will fit to screen. There you go. Okay. Who do we have in here? I recognize some names.
This is your crew. This is your regular crew.
I think. Let's see. Neb, I think you're new, and Hit at 12th spot. I think everyone else is a semi-regular. So this is a Superflex startup. We're only going to do the first 10 picks here, and then we're going to do another startup and just have it be a one quarterback. Just a fun compare contrast and see, and just give more people the chance to draft. So let's get in on this right now. Let's just start it up.
Let's go. I'm excited.
Okay, let's do this. So number one, I don't even have to think about it, and I actually picked the one spot because I don't have to think about it. It's Mahomes. Is there any argument that's good for anyone else?
No. Patrick Mahomes, he's the best quarterback in football. And the nice thing is he really proved this year that he is elite supporting cast irrelevant. Because obviously the departure of Tyreek Hill, everyone's like, oh, he lost his number one wide receiver. And Mahomes is like, hey, hold my Coors Light. I still got this.
Oh, man. Yep. No, I love that. Yeah, it was, on one hand, it was kind of like the overthink of a century, with Mahomes. But on the other hand, with any other quarterback losing Tyreek Hill, I feel like that would make a huge difference, but not so fast here. Okay, so you are picking from what spot are you picking
10
from?
spot.
Okay, yeah. So who are you targeting here?
All right, so I'll be honest. Okay, Lamar Jackson went. Really wanted to go quarterback here, but I feel like we're hitting a tier. I will just say I really can't take running back at all right now. It's like the Wild West between the draft class and free agency, and there's just so much potential movement, all the cut candidates. I feel like anybody doing a startup right now really has to kind of fade running back a little bit. So I'm going to go with A.J. Brown here. He showed this year that on that Eagles offense, he can produce at an elite level. And Howie Roseman, they're already talking about the extension for Jalen Hurts. Those two are going to be locked in together for a long time to come. And I know, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, they're all on the board, which we just see Bijan, the turn, we double tap running backs actually.
Robinson and Walker.
Yeah, so that's interesting. If I had a chance to grab a Bijan, a Jonathan Taylor, or a Christian McCaffrey, I feel like that's my tier one for running backs, and I really don't want to touch running back for a long time after that. Yeah. So now I'm sitting here at the 2-3, and we got a long time till the quarterbacks come. I know the first 6 picks went quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if people were double tapping quarterback along the way. So I need at least one quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson here. He had I'm a Browns fan. He had a terrible, terrible end to the season. I'm hoping that he knocks off that rust and, return to that top 5, top 6 quarterback range, because he's not there right now. Kyler Murray is another thought there, but if you're going with Kyler, I feel like you're kind of tanking year 1 of your dynasty team, because I've been saying it since the injury. Don't be surprised if he misses most of the year. And a lot of people were telling me that I was completely off base on that. And now you're seeing that more and more big media is picking up the story that, hey, Kyler is going to be gone for a significant portion of the season. You got a new head coach. You got a new front office. Like, I don't see the Cardinals wanting to compete this year. Like a quiet tank, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's same thing for me. With Kyler, it's almost like taking Christian McCaffrey in this range. It's kind of a statement. Okay, if I'm taking McCaffrey, I'm going to win now. And if I'm going Murray, I'm going to be playing for the year after. And I'm not going to really try to compete this year. I have seen some people build some good teams still with that mindset of I'm still going to try to compete. And getting like a Geno Smith or something later rounds. But to me, it's just part of Dynasty for me is just even the rebuilding process, So,
one of my favorite parts about Dynasty is having multiple teams that are all in multiple modes of competition. I have one super flex squad that I've been in the league for a number of years, where I have the one-on-one Bijan, but honestly, it's going to be the capstone of a 2-3 year rebuild. And then I have another league where I won the title 2 years ago. I was in the finals last year, and I'm ready to just kind of like tear that team down to the studs. And it's really nice being in multiple leagues and kind of trying to do, multiple things at once. Peter here. Oh, okay. I like that. Tight end premium. And then you get your running back. That's a really good turn. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like Andrews. Actually, I found that in tight end premium leagues, I really enjoy picking in the middle of the draft because you can usually get the Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts or even like a Kelsey around the middle third. But obviously, there's a little bit of a run there. It'll be interesting to see where Kelsey goes here. Oh, Hawkinson goes before Kelsey. What do you think of that?
Oh, man, so Kelsey's the type of guy where you want to fade him, but you really can't until he shows you anything. Honestly, at this point with Kelsey, I'm more concerned about him just like being done with football and retiring versus him ever being injured. I don't know if anybody's talked to him since the Super Bowl ended. I know him and Jason had that podcast together, but if they win another title next year, is he just like, listen, I'm going out on top, I was the best of the best to ever do it, and I'm done before because look at Gronk. He had the wherewithal to know, like, my body is breaking down and I can force myself to do this for a number of years. I also want to enjoy my life for the next number of years. I like, people always give him like the meathead moniker. The guy was actually very smart. Just real quick, I don't know if anybody knows this, but he lived off of his endorsements. His entire contract, all his money, game checks, always went into a savings account. So he was. I mean, I don't know if he did that or if he had a planner, but he's got to give him credit. He's smarter than he appears.
Yeah, people with brands like that aren't stupid. You know what I mean? Like, he built such a great brand around himself.
All right, so it's actually funny that we were talking about Kelsey, because I'm going to stop the slide right now.
I'm
going to grab Kelsey.
This is the farthest I've seen him, for sure.
He shouldn't have gone this far. So I'm going to grab Kelsey as my tight end 1. So now I got Deshaun Watson, AJ Brown, and Travis Kelsey in a full PPR league, Superflex tight end premium. I love that start. And I'm already thinking to myself that the running back position is just something that I'm going to grab like 6 guys later, because we're including rookies, obviously, in this startup. And I gotta say, I've been spending a lot of time with these rookie running backs. with the right capital and the right spots, there could be like 12 guys in this class that you can start next year every week in fantasy football if they land in the right spots with the right draft capital. It's a very, very talented running back class. And I was actually going to put something together on Twitter later, but my hot take this time of year right now, the 2023 running back class is everything we wanted the 2022 2020 running back class to be. 2020, we had Jonathan Taylor.
I love that.
J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the hype for those guys was so through the roof.
Yeah.
I think the 2023 running backs are going to give us what we were hoping to get out of the 2020 running back class.
I love that. That's a great take. And I agree with it. I was finishing up my grading yesterday night, and obviously for me, I have Robinson like there. There's a gap there, and then I have Gibbs, and then there's a smaller gap. But then there's a whole bunch of running backs that are just like 4 or 5 points away from each other, and that just really shows me just how deep this running back class really is.
Yeah.
Dan Edwards asks, "Hey Peter and Dan." It's funny because his name is Dan too. Since Mahomes is pretty much the consensus 101 in a superflex startup, what would it take to trade for Mahomes? I've been getting low ball offers recently. 12 team superflex tight end premium PPR start 10. And also, if anyone here has any questions, drop it in the chat and we'll get to it when we get to it. But we'll get to it for sure. What do you think?
So let me just make sure my pick goes
through.
I'm getting the spinning wheel. So I was hoping Diggs would be there. I'm going to go with Devontae Adams.
Is it still not going through?
Oh, it finally went through. Okay. So back to the question. This is actually a great question because my buddy Jojo, shout out. I think he's watching the stream right now, joining us, doing that work from home life. He actually texted me about Josh Allen this week. And he goes, "What would it take to get Josh Allen off of you?" And I said, "You would need to send me Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and like one of the picks between 101 and 104. Because I know that's a big price. But the thing is, once I leave that elite quarterback tier, I'm not getting back into it. Yeah. Like if I have a Mahomes, if I have a Josh Allen, honestly, right now, my tier is just those two guys. If I have one of those two guys, I'm not getting back into that tier for a very long time. Yeah. Because as we're seeing now, the 2023 quarterback draft class, I don't think it's going to be – we're going to get starters out of it, but nobody's going to be on that elite level. Yeah. Looking ahead next year, we got 2024 with Caleb Williams and Drake May, and then, whoever else, winds up coming out from the college scene.
Spencer Rattler
3.0. I love Caleb. I don't think he's going to be a Mahomes type prospect. I hate to use the term generational, but I think by this point we can call Mahomes a generational talent, right?
So honestly, I would say that he's beyond that. I mean, generational, what's the word for like 20 years?
Oh,
2 decades. I don't know, but like generational, like
bi-generational.
Yeah, I guess. But it's like you look at all these quarterbacks and, Mahomes, what he offers with high upside, but also just extended consistency. It's the Tom Brady, Drew Brees scoring, but I would rather have him over those players. Right now I can't really think of a quarterback who I would want, a quarterback in the past who I would want for my fantasy football team right now over Mahomes.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I'm be dating myself, but Peyton Manning in his heyday. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, all these quarterbacks now are expected to have that rushing component to contribute fantasy wise. Yeah. It just kind of shows that Peyton was so crazy that he was doing it purely with his arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't rushing at all. So like he was putting up big fantasy points based purely on passing yards and passing touchdowns, which is pretty insane. So I think it's so hard to get into that tier of elite quarterback. And now that being said, Josh Allen, you could have bought low after the first 2 years because he didn't break out right away.
Yeah.
And get yourself into that elite category, but it's once you're there, the road to get back to having an elite quarterback is very long, because those that drafted Josh Allen his rookie year, that probably wasn't the first swing on quarterback for them. They were probably searching for a little while. And then you could also, people like to talk about the success stories. We can talk about a lot of the failures that have happened around there. You look at that exact same quarterback class with Josh Rosen. He was a top 15 draft pick, and he was replaced in 1 year. So it's hard. It's very, very hard to do a purchase on a Mahomes or a Josh Allen right now.
Okay, so Sedated Fork, which is a regular, this is a perfect question to ask you, because I don't know if you all know this, but Dan did go to the Senior Bowl this year, so this is a good question for you. Any sleeper deep tight ends that you would target in a league that is heavy tight end premium, 1.75 for receptions, and you start 2 tight ends? Man, that's intense.
That is intense. That's like, God, that's like, is your first round just quarterbacks and tight ends at the startup? Like, is that it?
Wow. Yeah, I would be interested to see that startup.
So a guy that I need to get around to doing a deeper dive into his tape, but who showed flashes of the Senior Bowl, is Will Mallory, the tight end out of the University of Miami.
Yeah.
He had a number of, this was a type of player where I didn't do as much homework on him as I should have going to the Senior Bowl, because, we kind of all have our biases. Dalton Kincaid, Luke Musgrave, I've heard those names before. So I spent a decent amount of time preparing questions and preparing to talk to these guys. But when they were out there on the field doing drills, Will Mallory, he really made a couple nice catches. A lot of like the mock draft type stuff. He's not going like day 2. He'll be like day 3. But it's definitely going to be a tight end that none of your team league mates are going to even think about drafting until the very end. And like we see with any position, tight end, running back, wide receiver, if you land in the right spot at the right time and just like one guy in front of you goes down, you have the ability to step up into a role. And I saw enough out of him Senior Bowl week where I think if he was thrust into some sort of role, I think we would see some fantasy production out of him. That being said, I'm not guaranteeing that you're getting, the next George Kittle later round, rookie prospect. But if I had to choose one tight end out of that group that was down in Mobile, it would be Will Mallory.
So everything I read from people, or at least a lot of people, they talk about how good this rookie tight end class is. Do you think it's really that good, or where are you on it with the tight ends?
I think it's top heavy. I think between Michael Mayer, Luke Musgrave, and Dalton Kincaid, I think we're going to get 3 fantasy producers. I think we're going to get 3 guys that will produce as tight end ones for the next 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
I think after that it drops off and you're kind of just shooting darts at that point. One thing I do like to point out, I was talking about this. By the way, for all of you guys that don't know, if you're not a member of the Nerd Herd, you should join. This is the best time of the year to do it. I actually host a show Monday nights on our private Discord. We do mock draft Mondays every Monday. This upcoming Monday will be a post-combine mock draft. So we do it every Monday because it's nice to stay on top of the ADPs. And one thing I've been noticing is because right now, this time of year, Sleeper kind of just loads in an ADP, and then they kind of just sort it every once in a while. Darnell Washington is going like mid to late second round. And I think what a lot of people aren't realizing about him is he's going to be brought in as mostly as a blocking tight end. He's not going to be the type of guy where we're going to want to target him too heavily in fantasy drafts. He's going to be drafted probably on day 2 of the NFL draft, which will lead some people to want to reach for him in their rookie drafts because they're like, I need a tight end. He's got decent draft capital. But just remember, with the tight end position, there is always 2 types of tight ends. You got your pass catchings, you got your blockings, and then your elite tier, they'll be doing both at the same time. Like your George Kittles, your Travis Kelce, your Mark Andrews, what have you. All right, so I'm on the clock again here in the 5th round. I got 2 receivers.
Who's gonna go?
I I got AJ Brown, Devontae Adams. I got Travis Kelce. I got Deshaun Watson. Taking a look at the quarterbacks, because we're starting to get a little unsure about, if we're getting some starters in our quarterback 2 position. So I definitely want to hit quarterback either between this pick or the next pick. And I know I was fading running back, but like there's this one guy that, Cleveland Browns for life. I got to grab Nick Chubb here in the 5th round. And now that gives me like the security that I have one running back. Yeah. So in round 11 through 17, I might just take 6 random running backs and just hope I get a hit here or there. But to know I have at least one starter on my roster gives me, the good feels, going into the season. That
and that's what mock drafts are supposed to do. Set you up for confidence, and then once you get into your startup drafts, just burn and light on fire and go into rebuild mode.
Decide week 2 you hate your entire team.
Trade them for thirds. So Sedated Fork has a question for you. There's a couple questions specifically addressed to you, and I think that's good, but I also take slight offense. But he says, "Hey Dan, missed your comments about Deshaun Watson. Really struggled on Dak versus Deshaun. Just decided to go for the Cowboys offense. Who do you like there? So Dak or Watson? Who are you going with?"
All right. So I hate to give the political answer. That can go either way, but I think it does depend a lot on team build and roster construction. I can't guarantee that Deshaun's going to return to his former form. I can't guarantee that him and Stefanski are going to work very good together, but we've seen a ceiling out of Deshaun that we hope that he can return to. Dak is kind of like that safe guy. I know Kellen Moore is off to the Chargers, but you have to imagine that it's going to be a similar offensive system this year. They're going to try to improve the pass catching weapons. So you're going to get similar production that you did last year out of Dak Prescott in 2023. Yeah. So that being said, if we're talking about my quarterback 2 position, I'd rather take Deshaun Watson because I want to shoot for that upside at quarterback 2. If we're talking about my quarterback 1 position, like my top quarterback, I would rather have Dak, knowing that I'm going to have a producer, week in, week out, and then gamble a little bit more with my quarterback 2 position. So
Jared Goff.
So speaking of quarterback
2s,
speaking of quarterback 2 positions, I'm going with Jared Goff. I mean, God, 2023, we are going to restore the roar to the fullest. The Detroit Lions, they're going to be everybody's favorite team this summer. They're going to be, God, I'm already thinking about like how high all their ADPs are going to be in redraft next year, because all we're going to talk about all summer is how Minnesota's on the down. Rodgers is not in Green Bay, maybe. Chicago is down to the studs, starting the rebuild. Like, that division is for the taking for Detroit. And, they returned their offensive coordinator. I saw a report earlier this week that Jamal Williams and the Lions, that contract talks are progressing very nicely to bring him back. You got Jameson Williams coming off of what was basically a redshirt season for him. But I got to say, I took time to watch those few snaps that he played, and
he looks great.
He does look great. So yes, I might be only getting 1 year to Jared Goff, because maybe they draft Anthony Richardson this year later and let him sit a year. But let me throw this scenario out here. Everyone likes to say, the Lions are going to win the NFC North. The offense is poised to take a step forward. They have 2 first-round draft picks, and they like what they're building on the defense. Who's to say Jared Goff doesn't get extended next offseason? If they go to the playoffs and they win a game or 2, so at that point their pick is in the 20s next year, because I believe this is the last year they have this is the last year they have 2 first-round draft picks. Yep. So if their picks in the 20s next year, guess what? They're out of the Caleb Williams and Drake May race. Yep. Spencer Rattler, I don't see that comeback happening. So
QB1.
Yeah, who's to say Jared Goff isn't in Detroit for the next 5 years?
Yep.
Yeah, and I agree. It kind of reminds me of the Geno Smith resurgence, obviously, like everyone compares. But it's really easy to forget that Jared Goff was the first overall pick. So he has the tools. He has there's a reason why a team, the Rams, picked him first overall. Has he been a disappointment on that? Yes. But he still has the tools, and I think that system really works for him. Could you tell me what your favorite pick so far is while I draft my guys?
Well, obviously every pick I've made. I got a shout out to Sedated Fork. I've been doing a couple mocks with Sedated Fork, actually. I feel like we're becoming really good friends over here. And he's had a really nice draft. He started with the double tap at the 11 turn, Justin Fields and Dak Prescott. That's kind of what I was just talking about, right? Because he's got Dak Prescott as his QB2, that nice, or his QB1 that night. You can put him in either order, but he's got that nice safe floor with Dak. He's under contract for the foreseeable future. I don't see the Cowboys moving off him anytime soon. And then he's got Justin Fields, which is like your upside play. He's got an amazing rushing floor. You hope that Ryan Poles and the Bears front office, with the $111 million in cap space that they have, is going to bring in enough pieces around him. And then, they got the first overall pick. Now, the value of the trade back took a little bit of a hit yesterday with the whole Jalen Carter news. But there's a lot of capital, both financially and draft-wise, they're going to push onto the Chicago Bears team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Fields takes another step forward. And then, you're looking at an extension for him. He sniped me on Diggs. I was really hoping for Diggs in the 4th. That is an amazing value. This time of year is so interesting for startups. I always tell people that are getting into Dynasty, I always ask them, when are you doing your startup? And they said, well, I don't know. Why does that matter? I'm like, because Dynasty startup value is kind of like an ocean. You have waves. Right now, we are so into what we just saw. The NFL season ended only a month ago. Jalen Hurts is the next gift to God, yada, yada, yada. And that's what's in our head right now.
Yeah.
And then 4 weeks from we got March 2nd today. 8 weeks from now, the NFL draft just happened. Veterans are terrible. Fade your veterans. Take your rookies early and often, yada, yada, yada. And that's like the second wave. And then you get your third wave of startups in August, when it's more like a redraft setting. And, your rookies are a little bit discounted. So I love drafting at all times of years, because you can see how it changes, throughout the season. I know you draft very often when you do a great job with all these live streams and everything. And you probably definitely see the ebbs and flows as it is as well. So I got to say, Sedated Fork, he's doing really good. The Diggs 4th round pick is probably the best value. And then there's some picks in here that are like, we might be coming back after the NFL draft 6 weeks from now or 8 weeks from now and saying like, wow, that guy went there. Yeah. One guy I'm looking at right away is Jackson Smith Njigga. I can't. JSN.
Yep.
Let's go.
There we go.
The Ohio State wide receiver. And he's
you're on the clock.
Oh shit.
I heard a clock and I was like, wait a minute.
I had those
pick though.
I had those sleeper sounds turned off, so that was my panic pick. But Terry McLaurin as my wide receiver 3, I think is great, because the Commanders are hopefully getting Sam Howell to run this offense. If not, there's plenty of veteran guys out there, and we've seen Terry produce with what Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Dwayne Haskins. Like, he's basically DJ Moore 2.0 at this point.
Or DJ Moore's Terry McLaurin 2.0. But that's because I'm a Commanders fan. So, currently, let's see. Loopy in the sleeper chat has Stroud at 3.7, Javonte at 5.7, JSN at 5.2, T. Higgins at 3.8,
and Pitts at 211. I did not realize that Stroud dropped to 3.7. I think that's one of my favorite values. If I had to pick, this is kind of my hot take. If I had to pick between Fields and Stroud right now in a startup, I'm going Stroud. I'm a really big fan of Stroud, so I think getting him at 3.7 is really good. Derek Carr is going to always be a great value, I think. Although him going before Cousins, that's a little bit interesting. I haven't seen that before so far in a draft. I would still have Cousins in front of Carr. Is that the same thing for you?
Until we find out the landing spot, yeah, I would have to agree with that. All right, I'm gonna grab Brendan Ayuk here. In the 8th round, I think that's really good value. I think a lot of his suppression of value is uncertainty about what's going on with San Francisco and the quarterback position. The reports around Brock Purdy have been so weird. I don't know if you've
I try to keep up with it, but it's tough.
So he hasn't had the surgery yet. And I'm not gonna say I'm a medical doctor or anything, but I feel like a Tommy John or whatever we were hearing about, you kind of want to have as soon as possible, because everything I'm hearing is it's a year recovery. So he hasn't had the surgery yet, but there's been quotes from the front office saying that he'll be ready for the start of the year. I'm like, you can't have both things at once. That's not how that's not how that works.
No. Yeah, that'll be such an interesting, if it can be a camp battle. I don't know what that's even going to look like this offseason, but I have a feeling that's going to be one of the main stories. You're going to always have Aaron Rodgers doing stuff. It's one of the main stories. Derek Carr signing somewhere.
And then
I'm just excited for this offseason.
Also, there's so many quarterbacks that nobody ever mentions. Jacoby Brissett had a great year in Cleveland. I know the pieces around him were kind of perfect. He had a great offensive line. He had a great offensive scheme where, Stefanski was scheming the wide receivers open. He can be a starter in this league. We have Jimmy Garoppolo, who I feel like a lot of people talk about Garoppolo, but then there's the Baker Mayfields and the Zach Wilsons, the reclamation projects, the Sam Darnolds. Where do they land? Are they going to be?
Do you say Carson Wentz?
I did not say Carson Wentz. No,
Carson Wentz, baby.
I heard somebody the other day saying that maybe he should take a sabbatical for a year, and I said that might not be the worst idea for his psyche.
Oh man, that was so hard. But I found over the years, when you start making excuses for quarterbacks, and there are multiple excuses again and again, it's not just the situation, and it's tough. But okay, so here I'm looking at. So I'm trying to win now, obviously. My Jordan Addison pick was a little sus, to be entirely honest. I love him as a player, but he doesn't quite fit my team. So I'm looking right now at my wide receivers, and I want a proven vet who I think can still be a top wide receiver. So that I'm going Hopkins.
And luckily for you, there's a bunch of proven vets still on the board. Hopkins would be my one, and then.
Oh man, I'm leaning towards Keenan Allen.
That was going to be my choice. Yeah, with Keenan Allen. Mike Evans is so scary with the Kyle Trask comments coming out of the front office down in Tampa Bay.
But I'm not. I'm going to take my running back 3. He's so good, man.
I'm going to rage quit right now.
He's so good.
He is so good. Tajay Spears, I'm so excited for him. And I know people keep asking about Senior Bowl questions, and I try to say this every show I go on. So for those who haven't or new to me and my content, I got to sit down with Tajay at the Senior Bowl and actually talk to him one-on-one for a couple minutes. And I think as we get closer to the draft, I think medical red flags are going to be the knock on him that people are going to talk about. Because for those that don't know, he had his knee reconstruction surgery, major knee injury, and I asked him, I was like, how are you in the process with your rehab? What lessons have you learned from that? And he just so humble. He's like, being out for that time with the knee injury just made me appreciate everything. He's like, I appreciate every snap. I appreciate every rep, every game, every moment, because I never know which one of them is going to be my last.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this kid is like 22 years old and like sounds like Gandhi out there with his wisdom. And then, I mean, everyone here, I'm sure, has seen the highlights, whether it's the whip route or the inside runs that he was taking off for touchdowns at the Senior Bowl. The one thing I do like to mention real fast with those clips of like the inside zone runs that he finished in the end zone, a lot of people don't realize this, but during those drills, there are officials on the sideline, and the officials are instructed to blow the play dead the second two hands get on the ball carrier. They're not trying to tackle. They're not trying to get anybody hurt. So it's basically two-hand touch football. The fact that the official didn't blow that play dead means that man was not touched at all,
And
which just makes it even crazier that he, had all those highlights.
yeah, we just added like 3 or 4 more all-22 games on the Dynasty Nerds film room. By the way, what's your affiliate code that if people want to sign up for 15% off?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to sign up for Nerd Herd membership, they could use promo code Luna. That's LUNA. Luna is my dog, my wife and I. My wife is actually watching right now. I just want to say I love her and appreciate her for the support. So Luna, our dog, Luna is the promo code. Get you 15% off. And like I said before, now is the best time to get a Nerd Herd membership. We're talking about all these prospects and all these rookies, and I tell people, even if you're not going to go onto the film room and get your own like evaluations off there, if you're trying to get deeper into fantasy football and like being better at the game and everything, go on there, write notes down on prospects, and then go compare those notes to some people in this industry that you respect. One thing I did at the Senior Bowl was I have a buddy that I used to work with who actually works as a professional scout now. He's hired by an agency working for a well-known rapper that I can't mention his name, but he's a very well-known rapper trying to get into the agency space. And so what I was doing all week was I was taking notes on prospects, and then we'd go to the bar after and I would like compare my notes to his, not to see if I was right or wrong, but more to like gauge of like where my process is compared to somebody who's doing this professionally for a living. And I'm happy to report back my notes were pretty lockstep with his. So
that's no surprise.
I said, hey man, when that 6-figure job opens up, you give me a call. I'll work for whoever.
Oh man. But yeah, side note with Tajay Spears, if you want to sign up for Underdog right now, you can draft your rookies in the best ball drafts and stuff. And he is currently still going in like the 12th, 13th round. I just drafted him in one of the best ball leagues, and that was quite the steal. I think, it's hard because he is a smaller back. He's not too small, but like for me, for the first year of production, I could see Charbonnet being a little bit more stable there. But I love Spears' upside. What do you think about oh man, there's a lot of good picks here. Currently I would say like the 9th round of a dynasty startup is my favorite, because you're getting players like a Hyatt and Josh Downs. What do you think of Hyatt? He's currently my wide receiver 3.
So I don't have Hyatt that high, but Hyatt's going to be, I feel like he's one of the wide receivers that's going to be very landing spot dependent on how I value him. Yeah. He is obviously got the top end speed. He's a big burner. And my hope is that he goes to an offense and a quarterback that can take advantage of that.
So I am worried to bring this up because we've been through this before. This is what I call the Mecole Hardman syndrome of fast wide receiver goes to the Chiefs to replace Tyreek Hill. If Hyatt ends up on the Chiefs, how would you feel about that?
I think Hyatt's a better prospect
Yep.
than Mecole Hardman was. So I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
I hate saying
Johnston on the Patriots
Mhm.
or Hyatt on the Chiefs. Who you drafting? Because I know how you rank in tiers. Is Hyatt and Johnston in the same tier?
No.
So you would still draft Johnston ahead.
Yeah. So right now my tier 1 is going to be JSN, Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnston.
Okay.
And then in my tier 2, I got like, Hyatt, Zay Flowers, and a bunch of other guys. So I would default to Quentin Johnston unless like he fell to round 3.
Okay.
I think if I had to pick somebody in the top tier that I have to flop or like bust,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think it would be Quentin Johnston.
Yep.
Just because of the way he wins, and like that, I feel like that's. What do you got? What are you celebrating?
This is so kind of you guys, but my boy Sam Howell is still on the board for the last pick of this draft.
There you go.
Let's go.
Okay, so we'll be answering a couple questions, and then we will post the one quarterback startup draft very soon. So, but anyway, were you still finishing a thought? Sorry, my somehow jubilation was.
No, it's okay. So I was saying that if I had to pick a wide receiver in my top tier to bust this year, it would unfortunately be Quentin Johnston, just because the way he wins, I feel, is the most susceptible to having his quarterback have trust in him. I think you see Addison and you see JSN, they are able to create separation on their own, and they can win in a way that I think is going to be positive regardless of the system or the quarterback they land with. So also the other thing is I was doing some research on Quentin Johnston the other day, and I was just kind of browsing box scores and not like a super deep dive, but just like a very casual thing. I feel like he disappeared a lot this year. I feel like he had a lot of games where he just like wasn't there or didn't show up. And I can remember this specifically because me and my buddies at work, we became very big TCU fans throughout the season. And we were watching all the TCU games live and, betting on TCU and everything. And there were so many times where I was like, I think Quentin's going to have a good game today. Like, let's take his over on yards or something. Yeah. And they were sitting there at halftime and he's got like 2 targets.
Yep.
And like, that doesn't add up.
He's not your stereotypical alpha in like
not.
the target volume. And to me, that's the most worrying thing.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. We got a couple questions. KCG says 8th round of a 14-team Superflex startup. Picks the rookie 110, Devy 104. We're limited to 1 Devy pick. Rashad Bateman or Mike Evans. No, Mike Williams. I'm trying to see where the question begins. Okay, so he's asking.
I found
asking,
it.
Yeah, okay.
8th round of a 14-team Superflex startup. Pick the rookie 110, the Devy 104. They can only take 1 Devy pick each, or Rashad Bateman / Mike Williams. Oh, man. I'm assuming this is a Devy startup as well. It's not like Devy depleted where they're... I think I would go with the Devy 104 there. Devy's not like my main space, but I talk enough of the guys that work in our Devy team that there are a number of really good quarterbacks coming out. So we got Caleb Williams and Drake May next year. Then you got Archie Manning is coming out 2025, I think. And then you got where did Quinn Ayers wind up going to when he transferred?
Wait, did he transfer from Texas?
Oh no, he stayed at Texas. He started last year.
Yeah, I think he's technically Like he can come out
Is
next
he
year.
still at Texas? Now I'm on the fly.
I think he is.
You got the 2 Texas quarterbacks. You got Archie and Quinn.
Can anyone in the chat confirm for us? But okay. Yeah, I honestly, my knowledge of Devi is about 0. So other than what I
Okay.
do cutting up the film room. Is he still in Texas?
So the only I've just a quick Google search shows an article from November saying that he looks forward to the competition
Okay.
in 2023. So I guess I don't know. Guess he's gonna stay and stick it out and hope he beats out Archie or
Gotcha.
see, I'm not even familiar with like the transfer portal, like how late he can
Yeah.
transfer in the year. You know, like maybe
Okay.
he goes into summer camp and like gives it a couple weeks, then he's like, all right, this ain't working. He's still such a highly touted 5-star high school prospect that I'm sure a lot of programs around the nation will be like, all right, Quinn, come down, transfer. So so I just named 4 quarterbacks off the top of my head. We haven't even got into like Travion Henderson, the Ohio State running back. The LSU freshman wide receiver, I can't remember his name right now, but he looks really well. I'm really good. So I would take the Devi 104 at that point. Now that like kind of changes things because now you're waiting till 2024, 2025 for these picks to contribute to your lineup. So it might lean you more towards like a productive struggle type of build.
Yep. Great thoughts.
Oh shoot.
One more question for you
Mhm.
from Hit Monique. For Dan, what did you see out of the Stanford wide receivers Higgins and Wilson at the Senior Bowl? And can you talk about the later round running backs in this draft class?
All right, so so the 2 Stanford wide receivers, you got Michael Wilson and Elijah Higgins. So first thing I'll note is going into Senior Bowl week in Mobile, I was trying to stay very in tune with what the scouting community was saying, what the big draft community was saying, and revolving around Elijah Higgins. The one thing I was seeing was, is he going to move to tight end? So practice 1, he's out there with the wide receivers. He's clearly the biggest guy. He's huge. Practice 3, I'll give you like a little like you had to be there type of moment. So there was like maybe 5 or 6 of us that hung out every day. We kind of all worked in the fantasy space and scouting and everything. And the wide receivers came out and Elijah wasn't there. And we all looked at each other like, where's Elijah? What happened? Because the Senior Bowl, if you're not at practice, 2 things have happened. 1, you got hurt and your agent's like, we're pulling the plug. You're out of there. 2, in an interview with a team after practice, you got enough teams to tell you like, hey, you're a round 2 pick or you're a round 1 or like you get enough feedback from teams to say like, hey, I made my bag. Let me get out of here, and start working on my 40 or, on to the next thing. So we're like, Elijah didn't show anything. He's not that. We didn't see him get hurt yesterday. What's going on? So you have the wide receivers on the one end zone warming up. Then somebody says, Elijah's with the tight ends. And we all like ran down to watch the tight ends warm up because Elijah Higgins was practicing with the tight ends. So I have no idea if that came from the coaching staff for the game or if that came on like feedback from teams saying that they would only draft him if he was a tight end. So I don't really know what to think about Elijah Higgins because I also don't know what position he's going to play at the next level. Now, Michael Wilson really impressed me down at the Senior Bowl. He looked at everything you want in a wide receiver. He was big. He looked fast. He was catching everything. He was winning all his one-on-ones. I think Michael Wilson is the type of player that's going to rise during the pre-draft process. And I wouldn't be surprised if an NFL team takes him on day 2. And a lot of the more casual Dynasty fans are like, oh, wow, I guess I should start watching tape on this Michael Wilson kid. So Michael Wilson, I love as like I don't want to call him a sleeper because I think by the time we get to our rookie drafts, he's going to be talked about as a top 12, wide receiver option. But definitely, if you haven't watched Michael Wilson's tape or done any research, definitely go look at Michael Wilson. I would do that before Saturday because I think Saturday the wide receivers run, and he's going to test really well. And I put out a tweet this morning reminding people There's some athletes in this draft class, like Devon A-Chain, for example, that we know is fast. There's other athletes in this class, like JSN, Bijan even, we know are not that fast. So when you guys are watching the combine this weekend, please do not let these numbers retell a story you already know. If Devon A-Chain goes out there on Sunday and runs a 4.38, please do not start like RB1, talk or anything like that, because Bijan's going to run a 4.55. We already know the athletic testing on these kids. Don't double count is what I say. Don't double count the numbers. Just an important thing I wanted to mention, because we got in 10 minutes, actually, testing starts for, I think, defensive backs and linebackers today.
Whoop, whoop. Let's go. I'm so excited for the draft.
We have 2 more spots left in our draft. I will leave it open before I post it on Twitter. Oh, well. I see a Tim Martins in our draft room.
Love it.
Okay, we have 1 more spot left. Let's get that filled. Let's see. Is there another question? I feel like there was another question to Nah, I guess not. But okay. So let's get that 1 more team filled. I'll post it on Twitter. So in this combine, what singular player are you most excited to watch?
Tajay Spears. You can name any event, by the way, and the answer will be Tajay Spears. Combine, draft, Senior Bowl, McDonald's drive-through. Tajay Spears will be the answer.
Really?
No, but so on Real Talk, some players that I think the combine is going to be very important to. One wide receiver is Nathaniel Dell, Tank Dell. You might have heard him referred as. He's the University of Houston wide receiver. He was a Senior Bowl standout. He was getting open all over the place, beating everyone on one-on-ones. The only problem is he is tiny. I forgot his exact measurements. I want to say he weighed in like 158 or 163, which is super, super small for wide receivers. Yeah. So he's going to need to show up with speed if he wants to get drafted where he's being projected to be drafted. So I think Tank Dell really needs to run well this weekend.
Yep.
To, I don't want to say improve his draft stock, but like justify his draft stock. All right, I got the numbers here. 5'8" and 163 pounds. That is a very, very small wide receiver. So
that's Tutu Atwell-esque.
Yes. So it's going to be very important that he runs well. So, all right, we started. So I'm actually the 3rd pick. I'm at the front end of this draft. So he started with Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson at the 102.
The 102.
Wow. Here we are.
I'm going to have to tweet that out right now.
Here we are. So this one's easy for me. Jamar Chase with the 3rd. Oh, those sounds. Jamar Chase with the 3rd overall pick in a dynasty startup is sort of a no-brainer. I would have taken him at the 102 if I had the 2nd spot. Might have taken him at the 101 if I had the 1 spot. I don't know if that's hot takey or anything, but if I was given the choice of Jefferson or Chase, I am personally leaning Chase just because you have that longevity with Joe Burrow.
Really? Okay. That's a little hot takey, I would say.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure of the temperature gauge on that one.
That's like it's about 20 seconds in the tea kettle, kind of hot. Like not boiling, but
all right.
Definitely steamy though. I can definitely see that though, because I mean, wide receiver are tied with their quarterback, so you know that Burrow is going to be there, and you know that Chase is going to be there, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Oh, we're getting some support in the chat for you, so
okay,
you're not alone.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. So we got AJ Brown at 3, Christian McCaffrey at 5. I would say that McCaffrey falling to 5 is it is a dynasty. So I personally would probably still pick CeeDee Lamb over McCaffrey. Where are you at? Would you rather Lamb or McCaffrey at this point?
Man, that's a tough one.
I guess if you're going win now,
I mean, I also like with it being the first round, like I hate going into a startup with like I want to do this or I want to do that. You know, we always say, you know, be water, you know, just adapt to whatever people are doing around you. I still got to take McCaffrey. I think he still has at least 2 years, maybe 3 years of running back one production. With now, when I say that, I don't mean like he's going to be the RB1 overall every year. I mean he's going to be a top 12 running back every year. With he's one of those guys who has the ceiling option though of finishing as running back one overall. And then there was actually a soundbite that came out of the combine from John Lynch, the 49ers general manager, about load management with Christian, and like, you know, going into next year, they're going to like lighten his workload. And it was very encouraging. He said, he's like, we're going to lighten his practice workload. We love what he has on the field as far as number of carries and number of touches. And we want to see that continue next year. So that's very encouraging that the front office is already like, listen, we're going to, what we did this year, copy, paste, and we're going to do it again next year. So
love that.
I like Christian McCaffrey a lot there.
Fantasy Sensei, yes, this is Dynasty. I understand the question though, because I just took Eckler and Cooper Kupp, but I am going for a win now build right now. So what do you think? Eckler in the first. What do you think about that?
That's the thing is like you, especially this time of year, you get so many people are into like the Dynasty mindset. Like here, so many people like that are new to Dynasty are like, oh, I love Dynasty because I have these players for 10 years. And I always say, first of all, I don't know about you, Pete. I'm not even in a league that's lasted for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, I think my longest running leagues we got 2023. So 5 years is my longest running league right now.
That's the same for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like there is a definite edge to be gained by not digging into the Dynasty aspect as much.
Oh,
and
Josh just got sniped. He had Josh Allen and Diggs went right before him.
That's an elite
hate to see it.
That's an elite combo.
Yeah.
I won a title just off of Allen Diggs.
Oh man.
2020. They had like that 4-game stretch at the end where it was like 80 combined points every week between the two of them.
Oh man.
But that does bring up a good point is stacking. So like you and I were probably going to be doing a lot of Underdog content. For those that don't know, Dynasty Nerds actually now has an affiliation with Underdog. If you're a new user, you can use the promo codes at Nerds, right?
Nerds, yep,
Nerds. You get a deposit match bonus up to $100, I believe, and then it even includes a free Dynasty GM membership. So if anything, now is a great time to get Underdog as well, because you get the GM membership. You can start doing the early best ball drafts with Peter and I. But like, so stacking is a best ball. I don't want to say mantra or strategy. It came from best ball because the theory behind best ball is your 2 high scores will start every week. So you want to aim for your ceiling outcome no matter what. Because in best ball, you don't win any money by finishing in 4th. The top guy wins money and you know, winner go home type of thing. And a lot of people have taken that and tried to apply it to their season long fantasy. And now in redraft, I think that's great. You know, I had Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown on a number of redraft teams this year, but that's because there was good value getting Jalen Hurts in the 5th or 6th round of a redraft league. I always warn people, don't go forcing stacks. I mean, it's funny that I say that as I just made a stack myself. Don't go forcing stacks when you don't have to. You know, it's nice to have those 2 teammates together, but do not under or overvalue a player based on having the ability to create a stack. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say that stacks win championships, but they do not help you get into the playoffs. If you reach for a stack, then you probably didn't make it into the playoffs. Because right here, I mean, a Joe Burrow and a Jamar Chase isn't a reach. I think that's a natural stack right there. And same thing with the Josh Allen and Diggs, you know, but it's where you start drafting Kirk Cousins higher because you have Justin Jefferson, or Jared Goff higher because you have St. Brown, you know, stuff like that, that you start reaching on quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks. That's where you get into trouble. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Best ball, I love it. In tournament formats, I love it. But in Dynasty League formats, I don't really care if it's a tiebreaker or even if it's just a player that I like. Obviously, I'll go for that. But for the most part, I do not seek out the stack.
I tell you what, we start talking about stacks. This draft is turning into a stack fest.
Oh man,
We got Neb with the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts stack. We got me with the Burrow, Jamar Chase stack, and unfortunately for Josh, he missed the Allen. All right,
oh,
Josh could take Gabe Davis here in the third, right?
Yep. There we go. That's what we're saying.
That's the move.
So this is why I love doing multiple mocks, is because the last one, I mean, this is different in Superflex and this is one quarterback, so you'll have some variance here. But Kelsey went 208 as the first tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of what you were saying about how Dynasty, you have to have that. Oh, I was hearing the clock. Okay, it's not me. you have. I personally shoot for the 2 to 3 year window. I'm trying to win the championship. I'm not trying to sell out all the way, but I still want that production. How close would you say is Kelsey to Pitts in a startup to you? Are you still going for Pitts over Kelsey, or is that pretty close? I mean, side note though, Mark Andrews going at 3.7, I will take over the 2 other tight ends that went in the second personally.
So I still have Kelsey over Pitts.
Okay.
In Dynasty, in startups even. Kyle Pitts is an elite talent. The offense he plays on worries me. I'm convinced that if they could figure out a way to just get a running back to play quarterback, they would just do that.
Yep.
I don't want to entirely judge a player based on their surroundings, and because that stuff changes all the time.
Yep.
Falcons could have a bad year this year, fire the entire coaching staff, fire the entire front office, and things can change. Until Kelsey shows me a sign of degradation, like I said earlier, I'm more convinced he might just randomly retire after one of these seasons. And
yep.
I mean, I feel like it's the same conversation every year in redraft. Like, we get to the championship games and everyone takes a week off, and then all the analysts are coming back to Twitter and they're all like, why didn't we take Travis Kelce higher this year? It's been like 3 years in a row that we've been saying that, right? Yeah. And then you get these early best ball drafts where he's like 101, 102, 103 in a redraft league. And then I feel he just spends all summer slowly getting to the back end of the first. And then for the past 3 years, he's always the 1-2 turn pick. It's him and Diggs or him and Adams. It's like the same script running every single year. So let's just stop doing it. Let's just say take Travis Kelce. He's still an elite talent. He's still attached to an elite quarterback, and end of discussion. Kyle Pitts, he has that longevity upside, but when does he hit that ceiling?
Yeah.
I don't think it's this year.
It's going to be one of those things that I'm going to have to be proven wrongly before I stop drafting him pretty much.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to put it. I'm at the point where I'm ready to be burned when he does fall off than I am to be burned by continuing to fade him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Speaking of which, I just got on the clock for a underdog best ball draft. Kelsey just went right before, and I'm the 6th overall, so that'll be fun. I'm going Tyreek Hill. Just a fast draft pick right there. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Kelsey's awesome. Let's see. Tim Martin says a championship this year is worth just as much as a championship 3 years from now. That's a very good point.
Unless the league folds in 2.
Yep.
Unless the league folds into
Yeah, that's
I,
why
I hate to say it, but it happens from
good
time to
leagues are
time.
important. Let's see.
All right, so I'm up with the 410. So I got Burrow and Chase so far, with DK Metcalf as my wide receiver 2. This league, we only start 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 3 flexes. So I kind of have the flexibility, pun intended, to go multiple positions because I still get starters no matter which way I go. Now, my question is, I want to grab a wide receiver. Am I dipping my toes into this rookie class because JSN just went, or am I still going with the veteran option? And based on what's the board, I think I'm still going with the veteran option. And I think I'm going to be taking your boy, Terry McLaurin.
Okay, I was like, that was down to the second.
I've been on a lot of shows recently. I'm good at timing.
Oh, man.
Timing the clock.
Oh man, I love that. Terry McLaurin's a great value there. I personally am taking Dotson over McLaurin, but that's just me. Man, Fizzle Dalla's team, Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Drake London, and Chris Olave. That is a very fun team. What do you think about just stacking young wide receivers? I guess Hill's not young, but he's not old.
I mean, I like it. He's just, I feel like he has his rankings and he's just letting value fall to him.
Yep.
And he's not getting into the, I need to fill out a starting roster. I got this. Oh my God, running backs are going. He's just letting the board come to him and filling out value. Yeah. And we could see the same thing happening with Tomer at the beginning of the draft. He's only going wide receivers. He's got
man, I love that. Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, and now he's got his first running back in Javonte Williams. So this is interesting because I feel like some people go into a draft and they're like, I'm just going to take value and I'm going to trade later to fill out my starting roster, right? I'm sure you've heard people say that before, right? Now, I feel like you have to, this is a bit of like a social thing more than a fantasy football thing. You have to consider what league you're in. Is this a random league you found on Discord, that people just looking to fill out a 12-team, $10, whatever league? Yep. Maybe trades might not be that active. Maybe people might not be checking their messages that often. Is this a bunch of friends from work or like real life friends that you're going to see very often? Trades might be very active in a league like that. So it's a lot of people be like, I'm going to just draft the best players and then trade later on. And that's all fine and dandy, but you have to read the room sort of. So I'm up here again. And I peeked at running backs. Don't love the value of a 5th round running back right now. So I'm just going to go back to the well on a wide receiver. And this is a guy that we were talking about during the last draft, Jameson Williams, the Lions offense, up and coming. Yep. We saw such a small sample size of his skill set last year, but that small sample size was very explosive. Yeah. So him healthy entire offseason. We already talked about the Lions have a ton of draft capital to bring more talent in, and it's going to be summer 2023 will be the summer of Restore the Roar. The Lions hype will be off the chain. So I'm happy with the team so far. I got 4 wide receivers that Terry is probably the oldest one. Terry is, how old is he now? Yeah, he's 27 now, so he'll be my oldest one.
An older rookie.
He was an older rookie. Everyone else is young. My quarterback's young. I have the nice buildings of a solid young team. And at this point, I'm actually fine not taking running backs. I feel completely comfortable in just grabbing running backs later. I'll grab 5 or 6 guys, hope 2 of them hit, and then, grind the waiver wires all season. We see running backs pop up on the waiver wire, year after year. Last year, we were down at the end, like week 13, week 14, and I can't even remember some of the running backs I was starting in my redraft leagues.
Yeah, the Derek McKinnons and the
Oh man, probably like
Samaje P. Ryan had
Yeah,
a couple
P.
weeks in
Ryan.
there. Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Oh man. I have to say my favorite pick so far has been Javonte Williams at 5'1". Yeah, I don't think he'll start off the year as well as a lot of these other running backs, but like last offseason, we were talking about him as a top 5 dynasty running back, you know?
yeah.
I feel like he was where we have Kenneth Walker now. You know, that kind of could be elite, could not be. I don't know. But after that Javonte Williams pick, I look at the other running backs right now, and I don't really want to draft them, you know, for a dynasty. So I think that, J.K. Dobbins. Dang it.
He says, I don't want to draft any other running backs, but apparently he had one.
man.
He had one on the mind.
I thought he was already drafted. That's why.
Yeah, the sleeper ADP is funny this time of year if you start scrolling down. So the one thing that I don't know if I mentioned this during the Superflex version of the draft, but running back right now scares the living daylights out of me because there's only Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, wherever Bijan goes. Can you name another running back that has like a completely secure starting role for week one?
So what was the question again?
I was thinking about like how scary the running back landscape is right now.
Yep.
So saying Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, and then wherever Bijan lands. Besides those 3, can you name a running back around the league that you are like 110% confidence is like week 1 starter and like off to the races? You know,
I could
like
say
I
Harris.
see. Oh yeah. I guess Najee is up there, but I'm fading Najee for other reasons besides that uncertainty. I saw Ben in chat mentioned Kenneth Walker, but do we know Walker's going to be completely healthy for week 1?
Well, I mean, also Schneider saying, yeah, Walker's great, but we want a committee. Like, obviously, Walker's going to be the guy, but I could definitely see. I'm also a Seahawks fan, by the way, too. I have to have one good team and one bad team to report. But I could see them drafting a Zach Evans, you know, and all of a sudden it's just like sedated fork. Good point with Saquon, but we don't know where he's going to end up. So there's still some question. Henry, yeah, that's a good, you know, but they're answering your thoughts pretty well there, Dan.
Okay, so all of those running backs they've mentioned, I have questions about outside of their role in the offense. Also with Derrick Henry, I hate to say it, hot take alert, you know, save this, clip it. The Tennessee Titans are drafting a running back on day 2. Like,
are we sure about day 2 or day 1? I could see. I mean,
well, no, they need to take at least one offensive lineman on day 1.
Man, yeah.
Like, do people not realize this yet? Like, I feel like nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about the fact that if I had to lock in a team for a day 2 running back, it's no one more than Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
You know, how long does the Derrick Henry show go on for?
Charbonnet.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just, yeah. Yeah, not just a satellite back, but like a heir apparent to Henry.
Yeah.
In the comments, but Julius Chestnut and Hassan Haskins. Julius Chestnut, the name just always makes me laugh when I see it. But he's a good running back, though. He's fine. But I think for that Titans offense, though, they want someone that they don't need a good quarterback to have a good offense with. You know, that's how Tannehill was able to look. I don't know. I think Tannehill's fine, but he looked really good, you know, for a bit. But good enough to get that huge contract.
I also gotta shout out my friend from work, Scott, in chat, Scott Johnson. We played a work league together, and he said he's taking notes for September.
But there's a part of me though, and I do agree that if the Titans do not do anything in free agency, that they need to draft some kind of offensive lineman. But if they sign a couple free agents and get some depth, I could see them being like, let's just get Robinson. Because, oh man, I'm blanking. Who was the running back that was there when Henry got drafted?
Is that DeMarco Murray?
Yeah, DeMarco Murray. So you kind of have that Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre-esque
turnover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So question in Sleeper. What's the consensus looking like for Charbonnet? I'm just starting to tap into rookies. So for me, Charbonnet is very close to running back 3 for rookie in my rookie rankings. Tajay Spears. Is it Tajay or Tajay?
Tajay.
Tajay Spears.
Yeah.
Tajay Spears is my running
back. Or at least when I kept calling him Tajay, he never once corrected me. I don't know if he's being polite or if I actually had it right. Okay. That's another nice part about the Senior Bowls. You got these names where you're like a little like, and some of the players will like immediately like tell you right away like that's not how that goes.
But for me, I think he can. So tier wise, I have Robinson in a tier, Gibbs is in a tier, and then it's Spears, Charbonnet's in a tier, and then I have Kendra Miller and Tank in the next tier. What do you think about Charbonnet, especially in a startup? Where are you looking to draft him? Just keeping it simple, would you rather have him or I keep pronouncing an N in this last name, so I'm going to try to not. But Pacheco? That's Pacheco. There we go.
I just took Pacheco.
Yeah, so like
yeah. So Charbonnet went 2 picks after.
Yeah, so you would rather have Isaiah over Charbonnet.
Knowing the data we have now, yes. As prospects, no, Charbonnet easily. Pacheco, so Pacheco's actually, he's from New Jersey. He grew up in Vineland, which is like 45 minutes south of me. And then he played at Rutgers, which is half hour north. So I'm very familiar with his story growing up. And he stayed in state and went to Rutgers, which is not a great football program, to stay close to his family, which I don't know, you gotta respect that at a certain point. And I love watching him run because I feel like he's just like looking out to hurt someone. Like he's like, I just want to hit people, and that's the most fun I can have on the football field. So let's go out there and let's hit somebody.
Thomas Rawls-esque.
Yeah.
Which is a compliment.
So, and he's also like, isn't he kind of everything we wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be?
Yeah, except better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. So, I mean, God, the narrative 3 years ago was, oh my God, the Chiefs took a running back one of that offense. He's going to be a top 12 running back every year, yada, yada, yada. Now, obviously, Pacheco doesn't have the draft capital to keep him around, so he has to go out and prove himself, week after week. But, I mean, so far we're 24 weeks into it, and he's done a pretty good job at proving himself. So, as I say this, Charbonnet gets drafted, like, let's say, to the Panthers at the start of the second round, then things change. But if I
you have that stability.
Yeah. So, but if I took the mystery box that is Charbonnet versus the plate that has Isaiah Pacheco on the Chiefs, and I compare them to, it's like that. It's like that Family Guy meme. Like, well, what's behind the door? You can take a boat, or you can take what's in the box. Oh, what's in the box? It could be a boat. Like what's in the Zach Charbonnet box? Oh, it could be Isaiah Pacheco. Then just take Isaiah Pacheco.
Yep.
But obviously that stuff, in 1 month and 25 days can completely change.
Well, I mean, also we have that little Damian Williams hangover of like, oh, he should have been the Super Bowl MVP on the Chiefs. He won them the Super Bowl. It wasn't Mahomes. And then that's when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah. Williams is not the same, I think.
Williams was also
but
old at that
he
point.
was older, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think just having that stability means a lot to people. I really like Waller in the 7th for tight end premium.
Yeah.
Where does he rank for you in this upcoming year? Will he be a top 5 tight end for you, or how's that looking?
For the 2023 season, yes, definitely. For Dynasty rankings overall, I think, let's see, because right now I have Kelsey, Pitts, Hawkinson, Andrews, not in that exact order, but like somewhere around there. And then Goddard and Kittle have to be up there. I think we're at a really good point with tight end right now where, I feel like 2 years ago or even last year, it was kind of like between tight end 7 and tight end 14, you could just grab any guy and throw him in your lineup. And like, maybe that will happen. It's actually funny because I do a start sit article series all season long for Dynasty Nerds, where I take the Las Vegas implied team totals and the spread and do a little bit of math to figure out like what teams have the highest projected total, because you might want to start those players on those teams because they're more likely to score fantasy points. And I feel like every week I was just writing about a random tight end on a random team somewhere because tight end is so random. So I feel like we're reaching a good point where we have, I'd say 7 or 8 solid options to start. And then we just talked about earlier, Mayer, Kincaid, and Luke Musgrave, who I think are going to be contributors right away as rookies. And not to shamelessly plug, but if you guys want to read more about Michael Mayer, go over to dynastynerds.com right now. I actually just had an article drop this morning, complete profile. Yeah. It's funny timing on that. So Mayer, to talk to him about him real fast, he's been getting the moniker of Baby Gronk all year. A lot of people.
That was Pat Fryermuth to begin with. I'm sure, like most other tight ends, that.
So I say Hawkinson was probably the OG Baby Gronk, if anything.
Yeah, that's true.
So he is a very elite pass catcher. He's going to provide a great safety blanket for whatever quarterback he's paired up with. I don't think his blocking abilities are as elite as Gronk's were. That being said, that's not a terrible thing for fantasy.
Yep.
That just means that, like, hey, Mayer is not a great blocker. Let's just send him in the slot. Let's send him outside more. So my favorite part about his game is his hands. He has such strong hands. There's so many clips where he's playing with Ian Book, or who was the other Notre Dame quarterback
If Quentin Johnston could have Mayer's hands, then he would be
wide receiver 1.
Oh yeah, hands down. Yeah.
So there's so many clips where he's just like, crossers in traffic, catches the ball, takes like 3 hits at once, and he never drops the ball, and ball never comes out. The second the ball hits his hand, he secures it, and he's right there. The other thing I love watching him is he does a lot of hand fighting. So there'll be many clips where he's like going to run a seam, and to get like a little bit more into like technical details about football, with the seam, the nickel corner, he wants to get his hands on Mayer, because Mayer's got so much more weight to him that the corner is going to take the chance of getting that flag drawn, because they're in the middle of the field. Those flags don't get thrown quite as often. Mayer has that instinct to, when he sees the corner, he like karate chops his hands out of the way. It's very subtle. It's like very nuanced to like pick up on it. But I just love that he has that elevation to his game where he knows like, I need to be like an offensive lineman out there just chopping out, hands. So I'm excited to see where Mayer lands. But like I said, if you want a full breakdown, complete with clips and everything, go over to dynastynerds.com right now. I got the whole article out there.
He really kind of strikes me as your classic example of prospect fatigue, because he's been this tight end one for so long, and we're starting to see, Kincaid can do all this stuff, and Musgrave, that's a lot of potential with not very many games, so I think even right now, I look back at even being potentially able to draft him in the 9th round. and tight end premium. I should have done that. That's a regret of mine, and that is why I do these mocks, is so I can learn. The bad news is I've done probably about over 50 of these mocks, so I still haven't figured that out yet. So, but
I'm
do
learning studying the tight end class, like as far as rookies. If you want to talk about rookies in startups,
Yeah.
instead of taking Mayer, take Musgrave or take Kincaid.
Yeah.
They have less name brand equity around them, and I feel like they're going later right now.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if we're sitting here 1 year from today and talking about those guys over Mayer.
So would you prefer Kincaid at, let's see, where did he go? Okay. So Mayer at 9.7 or no 8.7 or Kincaid at 9.6? Close is
Mayer,
okay,
if they're that close. If I could get, I'm talking about like if I get like 2 or 3 rounds of value out of the difference, then that's a move I'd make. But yeah, if they're going to go within 12 picks of each other, I would just rather take Mayer at that point, because Mayer we know is going to have the first round draft capital, and Musgrave and Kincaid are like fringe cases where we may see them go late first. I mean, we're talking about all this and watch like Musgrave goes to the Chiefs at 31, and then we're all just like, whoa.
And then Kelsey retires.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's Noah Gray who's tight end 1.
I was gonna say in tight end premium leagues, if like let's just play that out for example. Say Kelsey retires next week, and they take Musgrave at 31. Is it Clyde Edwards-Helaire all over again? Are people in tight end premium talking about Musgrave as the 102?
Well, yeah, that's the thing is Kelsey's role is just not a tight end.
No,
you know what I mean? You can't just plug and play a tight end there. You know, it's like it's almost like the Mecole Hardman to Tyreek Hill, you know, kind of role. Like they're just Hill's just your classic built different, and that's the same thing with Kelsey. You know, he's just built different. Monique has Washington at 3. Says that Musgrave is overrated. I think for me, I can't really rate Musgrave. I kind of have I like what I see on tape. I just don't have enough. And he's one of those players for me that I kind of have to be lazy and just say, okay, I need to see what the NFL thinks about him. If he gets drafted high, then I'm okay with buying into him. But right now, he's just such a huge question mark. He is like a little bit. It's not so much, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Justin Ross scenario of like everyone loved him, flashed a bit, but injury and all that stuff. And then he got signed with the Chiefs and everyone still died. And did he ever play an NFL game? Do you remember?
Justin Ross?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't remember that week against the Seahawks? It's like 20.
Really?
Yeah, it's like opening week of like 2020 or 2019. He had like 40 fantasy points. Everyone was going crazy for Justin Ross. Yeah.
Who am I thinking?
I swear to God.
UDFA from Clemson. What's his name?
Oh, I'm thinking of John Ross.
Okay.
I'm
there
sorry.
we go.
I'm thinking of John
there
Ross.
We go.
No.
I was thinking, what kind of, am I in the Matrix right now?
I was thinking of John Ross.
John Ross. Yeah, that's a whole other story. Phew. Okay. I almost had a meltdown on live. But okay.
I don't know where Justin Ross is right now, actually.
Yeah, because he was a UDFA on the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of that classic Malik Willis. Like he was going pretty high. I don't think he was a first rounder, but he was going pretty high in the second and like pre-draft rookie drafts. And
then he just fell all the way outside of the NFL draft completely.
Yeah, so Ryan says Justin was IR'd as soon as he got the Chiefs.
Justin is on the Chiefs still.
Is he on? Okay, so there's still hope.
He's signed there.
Philo.
He's signed there through 2024. So,
wow. Okay, he's the next, whatever he is.
Yeah, he collected a cool $430,000 this year.
Woo!
Doing nothing.
Free health insurance too.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the question. At what round are you interested in drafting Michael Thomas?
Ooh, that's a good one. ADP is 128 right now.
Yep.
I would say probably around now.
Yeah.
Like if is that where you're going to get him though? You know, because like if I don't have to rely on him to start and he's on my bench, I'll take that upside all day. But I guess this is it. Yeah, I guess round 10 would be when I would take Michael Thomas, because I wouldn't want to think about having to start him until we had a little clarity on where he's going to be next year.
But he's kind of like the ultimate wild card.
Yeah, but that's like the Antonio Brown argument.
And I mean, that's been the argument for the last 3 years. I personally have to say that I really like the Njoku Komet stack in tight end premium for 9th and 10th pick.
I'll be honest, I actually have that stack on most of my tight end premium rosters. Just because
that's nice. That's a very nice stack.
I before Njoku signed his extension, I was trying to buy him all over the place because he was going for so cheap. I think there's a bunch of leagues I spent like a third rounder on him. Okay. And then Komet, I think I drafted. Was that 2020, 2021, 2020?
He was Michael Mayer 1.0. Yeah. So as we are ending this draft, drop any trade questions or just any questions. It can be about the combine and rookies, anything, into the chats. So if there's any questions, we'll stay a little bit longer and answer them. But if we don't get any, we'll start signing off once we get done with this draft.
Yeah, I gotta go watch some bench press. Gotta go watch some 40s.
Oh, that's right. I think some 40s already ran.
Yeah, the testing started at 3. So
what did Will Anderson run? Let's see. Got to keep on talking because it's bad radio.
I don't know if there's like an actual page that
you have to think
they should. I mean, that's how it worked back in the day. There was no video coverage of the combine.
Yeah.
It was, and then also, but by the way, I just want to say that if anybody's looking for like some really good in-depth combine coverage, we actually have 2 guys at the combine this week.
Yep.
Reporting live. I want to make sure I get their Twitter handles right before I start.
Perfect. Thank you.
Misspeaking. So first will be Steve Bradshaw. You could find him on Twitter at Steve Bradshaw FF. Why am I doing this? I could just post this in the chat. It's way easier. So he'll be down there, and then he'll be joined by Dustin Ludecki. Both of them are in Indianapolis. I actually spoke to Steve this morning. I think he said he already saw like Nick Sirianni and a couple other guys walking around, and he's getting, I think he said tomorrow morning he is.
You have 10 seconds left, by the way.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning is quarterbacks.
Ooh,
so I think
Trey Lance.
Yes. High upside, as they say. So tomorrow morning is quarterbacks. So they'll be getting hands-on interviewing. All the quarterbacks will be there. Bryce Young is the only one who's skipping out on any testings. Yep. So make sure you guys go follow them on Twitter, because they will have like the most up-to-date stuff as far as news is concerned.
With the dynasty perspective too.
Yeah, exactly. And it was funny because Steve messaged me last week, because those that don't know, who don't work in the space, combine media credentials, you get approval like 4 days before the event starts. It's like very hectic to try to get there. You have to like kind of plan and hope and dream. And so Steve reached out. He's like, what should I do to prepare? I said, you should start sleeping ahead of time, because you're get no sleep this week at the combine. It's a great experience, meeting everybody and it's meeting the players and just working the whole time. So definitely go follow both those guys, because they will have live updates. And then, I mean, most of them are pretty active on Twitter. So if you got a question, drop a question for them,
Yeah.
Get out on Twitter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, try to we're there for you guys. That was when I was at the Senior Bowl, that was my big thing. And Peter knows this because I probably sent Peter like 2,000 messages on Discord Senior Bowl week. I was there, for the nerd herd. I wanted questions, I wanted interaction, and like I wanted to get the answers to what you guys were thinking. I only got one brain. I know I did a ton of homework before the event with as far as preparing, but I'm sure there's a ton of stuff I wasn't thinking about asking. So if you have any questions about, how short is Bryce Young, or, who's got the biggest or smallest hands, like, just go ask them on Twitter and give them a follow, and they'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on in Indianapolis this weekend.
Okay, so let's get some last second predictions. Quarterback 1 drafted will be, who do you think?
Bryce Young.
Okay, it's kind of the classic, like I feel like it's always been Bryce Young, but we just kind of need things to talk about, right?
Yeah, because spoiler alert, to talk about 2024 for a second, because right now Caleb Williams is like the next greatest thing. And he's 6'1", so he won't be like as short as Bryce, but height gate, Kenny Pickett last year with hand gate, like, it's
I was so done with that.
I mean, the guy played at Pitt the whole time, and now he's playing at Pitt again. So I think Bryce Young would be the number 1 quarterback taken, but at the same time, it's not a lock. I wouldn't be surprised if any of those quarterbacks get taken at the top of the draft. We didn't really discuss it too much, but the Jalen Carter news yesterday kind of shakes up how the top of the draft is going to play. Because going into this week, the Chicago Bears had been sitting there and saying, we want a defensive blue chip player. For those that don't know, in the scouting community, a blue chip player is a player that you're drafting to start and make an impact on your franchise throughout the length of their rookie contract and will be most likely signed to a second contract. You got blues, and then you got your greens are like, contributors, and it's all color coded. So there was 2 blue chip players in this draft class. There was Jalen Carter and there was Will Anderson. So Chicago wanting a defensive player, trading back to 4 with the Colts was never a big deal because they know the Colts are trading up to get a quarterback. The Texans all signs are quarterback, and then they just take whoever the Cardinals don't take. They are guaranteed either Carter or Anderson, and the draft picks are just cherries on top. But now with questions surrounding Jalen Carter and this rest issue, is Will Anderson the only blue chip player on their board? And if that's the case, the price to go and get the number 1 overall pick just went very, very high. So I think the odds of us seeing a trade up to number 1 took a big hit yesterday, which means that the Texans are the big winners because they can sit at 2 and have their pick of the quarterbacks. Because the other thing is, like, people talk about trading 2 firsts or 3 firsts to move up to 1 to go get a quarterback. We just saw Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, veteran quarterbacks moved for 2 or 3 first-round picks. At what point did the Colts, they've been doing the veteran thing for a while, but like the Panthers, for example, like, I would spend all those picks trading up to 1 for a prospect, or, do we throw stuff at the Ravens and then sign Lamar? Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting draft cycle. That's for sure.
Oh man, that would be a fun fit. Panthers and Lamar.
Yeah, Frank Reich.
So let's see. We got Stroud in the chat. We got Sedated Fork asking, is Young mobile enough to not get destroyed and be able to bootleg and get vision angles to see down the field? Well, he did in college, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a lot of people are like, oh, he's so small, he can't see over his offensive lineman. I'm like, do you guys not remember where some of the best offensive linemen from the nation come from? They come from Alabama. They're all big guys, and he had a very successful college career playing behind these big guys. So that aspect's not going to change when he gets to the NFL level. What will change is the speed and the athleticism for the linebackers and the edge defenders who will be chasing him down when he does break contain and gets outside the pocket. As a Browns fan, if we're talking about pocket presence and pocket security, I have to bring up Baker Mayfield because, he is the poster child for what not to do with a pocket. That guy bailed out of more clean pockets than I can even remember in his career in Cleveland. So I don't see that problem with Young. He will stand in the pocket. I mean, there's plenty of clips out there. I'm sure you're seeing them on Twitter now circulating of him taking a hit in the pocket because he wants to take the time to make sure that throw gets in there. So I don't see his pocket presence, pocket mobility, pocket vision being that big of an issue at the next level because he's been dealing with it this whole time.
So do you think that Young is going to be a Texan, or if you still had to predict, do you think someone is still trading up for one?
Gun to my head, after the Jalen Carter news, I think the top 4 picks stay put.
Okay.
I think we see Will Anderson go to the Bears at 1. I think we see Bryce Young go to the Texans at 2. The Cardinals open up an interesting trade spot, because like I said, new coach, new front office. Kyler has already been signed to that huge extension, but is going to miss the beginning of the season. What does Arizona think their season looks like next year? Like how realistic are they being about their expectations? So a trade to 3 is possible, but I don't really think they trade out of 3. So I think they probably stick there. And then, I know they need corner help. Is it too early for what's the cornerback from Illinois?
Oh, Gonzalez. Which one?
Illinois.
Witherspoon? Yeah, Witherspoon.
Witherspoon.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people have him as the top corner right now. Besides that, there's so this class is weird. There's not a lot of prospects that are like blue chips where they're going to, be justified to go at 3. So we could see Arizona trade back and then somebody like a Carolina or Las Vegas trades up. I think the Colts have a type at quarterback they like drafting. The Peyton Manning, the Andrew Luck, big quarterback, big arm. The one
really
good, really good. Leaves the team.
Sam Ehlinger-esque.
I think they're going to fall in love with Will Levis.
Yep.
I think they're going to fall in love with the arm that Will Levis has, his frame, his size, the fact that he's played in a pro-style offense in the SEC for 4 years. These are all traits that I think the front office there is going to really enjoy. So I think that's how it plays out. And then, you got Stroud and you got Richardson and you got, Vegas as a possible destination. You got Carolina as a possible destination. It's very interesting. It's very interesting draft cycle this year.
Yeah. Well, okay. On that note, thanks everyone for tuning in. Dan, where can we all find your work?
Yeah. So on Twitter, you could find me at DanT_NFL. I'm going to drop the link in the chat actually, because clicking is better than typing. So right now I am finishing up our Draft Nerd series. We only have a handful of teams left to go. We go through, do 7-round mock drafts for every team, both offensive, defensive players. It's nice to give you a perspective on the class as a whole. I love the series so much because I learn about so many players. There have been so many guys I take in the 7th round. I'm like, who is this? What does he do? Where is he from?
Yeah.
So it's also interesting seeing what sources you have to go through for information on these players. College Football Reference is a big one. Sometimes I have to go to the school's actual website to find out any information about where they're from or their hometown or anything, because the Draft Network doesn't have it or other sites don't have it. So that's very, very interesting. We're grinding through our rookie profile series right now. I had Michael Mayer drop this morning. I got Chase Brown, the Illinois running back, in the pipeline.
That's going to be a great one.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That one I enjoyed writing so much because I actually included my entire interview with him. I spent 5 minutes.
Right on.
Yeah, I've spent 5 minutes not sitting down, standing with Chase and getting to talk to him one-on-one. So I included the whole transcript for that interview. So it feels really, really personal to me, that article. So I put a lot of time and effort into that one. And then we talked about Anthony Richardson a lot today, and he's the next person on my docket. I'm really excited to
Oh,
take
man.
a deep dive into his tape. You know, I think out of all of these quarterbacks, he has the highest fantasy football ceiling. I don't want to say Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson or anything, but God, I would say if I had to like do a ceiling comp for Anthony Richardson, I would say Cam Newton. Like coming out
Pre-shoulder injury.
Yeah, pre-injury Cam Newton.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very excited to dive into that. So yeah, just it's a busy time of year for us, as I'm sure you know, Peter. And then last thing is, if you guys want to join the Nerd Herd, promo code Luna for 15% off at checkout. That's LUNA, my wonderful dog Luna. If you guys join this weekend, please come out Monday night to join us for our first post-combine rookie mock. We'll be doing it live on our stages. We'll be providing live analysis. Expect Devon A-Chain to be a first rounder because he ran a 4.3 at the combine, and you all are overreacting.
Only a 4.3.
So yeah, this is honestly one of my favorite times of year working in the Dynasty space. Definitely.
Awesome. Okay, well, you can find me on Twitter at Peter Bartosky. It's right down here. There we go. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. This was a blast, and see you next time. Bye.